Hi. We are in chapter 4, lesson 3. And our earlier lessons, 4:1 and 4:2, were graphs. And we talked about asymptotes. And today we're shifting a little bit into something different. We won't be graphing today. What we're going to be doing is we're going to have trinomials in the numerator, binomials in the numerator, or trinomials in the denominator. And we have to factor and cross out whatever's the same. So we all know that if I had like g over g, I could easily cross that out and make a 1. Okay? Or if I had 7L over 14L, let's do 14L squared, then I could simplify the 7 and the 14, 1/2, 1 over 2. And then the L to the first divided by L squared, there would still be an L in the denominator. So my answer to that would be 1 over 2L. All right, so we're going to do it on a much bigger scale because I'm going to have to factor trinomials like this or binomials. All these things need to be simplified and reduced. So example 1, write an equivalent expression. So 12 over 16, this is what? 5th grade, reduce the fraction. What's 12 over 16? 3/4. Easy, right? Okay. Now, the directions for example 2 are similar. Write an equivalent expression. But now I have to state the domain. The domain means values of x, right? Domain is values of x. But specifically, what number cannot be plugged into the denominator? We only care about the denominator. So what number won't work in the denominator is going to be, I will say, I can have any number, all real numbers, except, and then you tell me what number won't work in the denominator. So here we go. On part A, we need to factor the numerator and the denominator. So looking at the top, what kind of factoring would I start with? Like GCF, x. You're right, with the x. So I'm going to factor out, so GCF happens first. They didn't have any numbers in common, so I'm just going to write my leftovers, or what, after I divide, what's still there. X squared minus 5x minus 24. That's what's still left when I GCF out an x. In the denominator, how can I factor that? X also, correct. X squared plus x minus 72. Good. Well, it's a trinomial, so let's keep going. My numerator will become 2 parentheses. My denominator can be factored, and that'll be 2 parentheses. So what multiplies to make negative 24 and adds up to negative 5? 8 and 3. And so you have to figure out the signs. I'm going slow for some of you that are still shaky on factoring. Where's the signs again? I know you just said it, but tell me again, please. Positive 3, negative 8. Awesome. Okay. The denominator, x squared plus x minus 72. What multiplies to make 72? It adds up to 1. Good. So you said positive 9 and negative 8. Now, I need to look at, right now, this is my denominator, x plus 9, and x minus 8. is there anything that I can simplify? So I'm going to simplify, right? What can I cross out? What? I need you to say it louder because great. Yeah, x minus 8. I'll do that in a color. Sure. Anything else? So, final answer would be x plus 3 over x plus 9. Now, the domain is going to be before I crossed out the x minus 8, what can't plug into the denominator? So it's not my final answer. It's going to be this one here that I'm looking for the domain. Because, yeah, I cancel that x minus 8, but that's still part of the answer. If I go back up to here, x cubed plus x squared minus 72x, I could not. I'm going to set everything equal to 0 to figure out what the denominator cannot be. Like, if I put negative 9 right here, if I put negative 9 right here, then that would make a 0. And so I cannot have a negative 9 as one of my numbers. How about if I put a positive 8 right here, 8 minus 8? That'd be 0, and then I'm multiplying 0 by all these. I don't want my denominator to be 0. So you don't want your denominator to be 0. What numbers can't go in? X cannot be 0. X cannot be negative 9. And x cannot be positive 8. Because if I plug those specific numbers in back into my original, I would get 0 in the denominator. So I'm looking at simplified version up here. What's in the denominator? So it's the denominator cannot equal 0. Okay? All right. Example C is a little bit harder because the factoring is a little more difficult. Okay? So, woo! 3, like look at the numbers first and then look at how many x's. So, are there any numbers that they have in common? A 3 and an 18 and a 21. 3 goes into all those. Oh, are there any x's? Like, how many x's do they for sure have? This has 5 of them. This has 4 of them. This has 3 of them. But how many for sure do they each have? X cubed. And then take a break from helping. Shiv, go on mute. All right. When I divide that out from 3x to the 5th, I divide out a 3x cubed. What's still there? How many x's are still there when I have 5, but I take out 3? Great. If I have a negative 18x to the 4th, and I divide out a positive 3x cubed, what's still here? So do the 18 and 3. The negative 18 divided by 3 first. 6. X to the 4th, divide out x to the 3rd. How many x's are still remaining? I have x to the 4th. I take out x cubed. There's still x left. Good. Now, negative 21, divide out a positive 3. -7. X cubed, divide out x cubed. Is there anything left? Good. So I am done with my numerator. 2x to the 6th minus 98 x to the 4th. The denominator. What's still there? I'm sorry. What's in common with a 2 and a 96? 2. How many x's do they for sure both have? X to the 4th. Good. Now we write like the leftovers. Division. 2x to the 6th, divide out 2x to the 4th. What's still left? X squared. Good. -98 x to the 4th, divide out a positive 2 x to the 4th. So you got to do -98 divided by 2. Huh? -49. Now let's factor. Okay. Can you deal with just the numbers outside first? Don't look at the parentheses yet. So 3x cubed over 2x to the 4th. What numbers? Let's simplify that. What numbers would I have and how many x's would I have? And where would the x's be? Someone let me know. 3x cubed and 2x to the 4th. I want that first. Three over 2. Can I simplify that? No, leave it 3 over 2. X cubed on top, x to the 4th on the bottom. What do I still have where? X on the bottom. Good. Now please factor out the numerator. X squared minus 6x minus 7. What numbers multiply to make -7 and add up to -6? Someone tell me. You have to say it louder. And if you don't say anything, then I'm just going to sit here and there's going to be dead air on the video. No. Multiplies to make -7, adds up to -6. X minus 7x plus 1? Okay. X squared minus 49 is what? Yay. Great. Thank you. Now, I'm wanting you to calculate the domain. Okay. I know that I'm going to cross out the x minus 7s. But still, here's my answer. 3 on the top, 2x on the bottom. X plus 1, x plus 7. All right. So the domain, I could say like all real numbers. However, x cannot be. So you would like set each thing equal to 0. X cannot be 0. What else x cannot be? Or I could put a comma. That might be nicer for you guys. X cannot be 0. What else can it not be? Okay. Want to put bracket around it? You can. So here we go. Okay. Turn the page. We have not many left to do. Four minus x squared. What does that numerator become? Say it again.
X minus 2, X plus 2.
I have to do 2 minus x, though. Because it's backwards. You know? Okay. What about my denominator? Multiplies to make negative 10, adds up to 3. 5 and negative, yeah. X plus 5, x minus 2. I cannot guarantee that you've ever seen this before, but we can cross out the 2 minus x over the x minus 2 by, so if I multiply by negative 1, I would get this. And I'm going to multiply by negative 1 on the top, and I'm going to get, I can switch them then. Because in the numerator, if I multiply by negative 1, then the x would become the opposite sign and the 2 would become the opposite sign. And this is good. The bottom, I would just get to stay on its own. So this is the trick. This is how you do it. You multiply whatever you want to switch. Like if something's backwards and the signs are off, I would put a negative 1 up top. So now I can cross out my x minus 2's, right? Here's my final answer. Negative, and I don't have to put the 1 really. I really don't. X plus 5. This would be my final answer. My domain is going to be all real numbers. It really is proper notation for you to put the fancy bracket, the all real number sign. X cannot be both things, 2, and x cannot be negative 5. And I'm looking at this to find the domain. Before you simplified, what was in the denominator? Okay. So I had parentheses. I was factoring. The last chunk of problems are going to be me multiplying straight across. I do not, well, in some circumstances, I do not want you to combine things because maybe I can cross out an X or a Y or a Z beforehand. So in this circumstance, nothing's really like, there's not X's on top and bottom. So I really do need to multiply straight across. Do you guys remember multiplying fractions? Multiply straight across. Straight across is going to be 6x cubed y. That's what the numerator is going to be. What's my denominator going to be? 4 what? YZ squared. So I really can't cross out anything x. I can cross out a y, but I can't cross out a z. 6 over 4 reduces to what? 3 over 2. X's cannot be crossed out. Leave it x cubed on top. Y. There's one on top, one on bottom, so I can cancel out. Z squared would be in the denominator. My domain, all real numbers, however, x cannot be, y cannot be 0. Like, in the denominator, I had y and I had z. I can't have either of them. I can't put a 0 in their place. If I put a 0 in, substituted a 0, I would get a 0 in the denominator. So y cannot be 0 and z cannot be 0. I obviously have to write those separately because they're different variables. Okay. I don't want you to combine anything right now. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to factor the middle fraction, make 2 parentheses on top and 2 parentheses on bottom. And maybe GCF the third fraction. So I'm going to give you time on your own. Factor the middle fraction with the 2 parentheses. And then do GCF on the third parentheses. Yeah, this is example 5 we're doing right now. So I did GCF on the third fraction. Okay. There's lots happening here. Check mine with yours. Here's what I have. Okay, so I put everything together. Notice I'm not foiling. I'm not making it some giant trinomial because that's not going to help my case. It's not going to help me. When I keep it simple and factor it before, then it's a lot easier to cross things out. So please factor right away. Then I go through and I look at what can I cross out. There's a lot that I can cross out. Start crossing things out, top and bottom. There's a lot. What'd you get alone on the numerator now? Take a break. X squared. What'd you get alone on the denominator? X plus 1. Good. Okay. This is all perfect. This is my final answer. My domain, look at all the things that I cannot have. You cannot have X cannot be -3. X cannot be -1. X cannot be +2. Okay. Last one. Let's see. X fourth minus 16. Did you guys know that was x squared minus 4, x squared plus 4? This is going to be x cubed plus 4x squared minus 12x over 1, right? That's in the numerator. So here's what I got. I'm going to have to factor the top. I have a difference of squares in the denominator. Okay, write out the numerator, factored completely. Multiplies to make negative 12, adds up to 4. Positive 6 and negative 2. Now in my denominator, x squared plus 4, I'm going to leave. I'm not going to do imaginary numbers in my denominator. This seems like something you could do. Does anybody have a question? So, cross out what can cross out. So I'm not, again, in my domain. Hold on. Cross out, cross out. Cross out, cross out. Okay. Numerator only has x and x plus 6. Now I'm not going to even distribute it. I'm going to leave it like this. Okay, my denominator has x squared plus 4. I'm not going into imaginary numbers. So I need to look back at this x plus 2, x minus 2 for my domain. X cannot be negative 2. X cannot be positive 2. We're not going into imaginaries. All right. So you're not going to be foiling. You're not going to be combining a ton. You need to make it simple. Simple means get all those parentheses, factor it all out, and then cross out what you can from top and bottom. Your homework is the next thing that you see on the page. It's 8 problems. I'm going to stop the video.